Serious, when did COVID-19 get real for you? When in the space of an hour the NBA got cancelled, Trump banned all travel to and from Europe, Tom Hanks announced he had it, that made me go, oh. Last Monday, when a co-worker was diagnosed with it. I work at UPS, which is deemed essential. The last couple of weeks have rivaled peak season in the amount of work each day. A lot of older people work there as it's part-time and free health coverage. We have no PPE. None. I haven't seen any type of disinfectant in any of the areas. Management seems fine with it. And was offended that I asked what was their plan of action weeks ago, prior to MRSA's diagnosis. About a month or so ago, when my hospital converted a ward into a negative pressure unit in anticipation of our first patient from one of the cruise ships. We're still changing related procedures and protocols almost daily and prepping other wards to accept patients with pending tests. When my first patient tested positive and I realized I had been in that room without PPE. When I was on Nextdoor and saw that people are posting which grocery stores have food. I wasn't blind to anything. I was taking it seriously and all. But that was the moment where I realized, holy poop. We are currently in a world where people have to post which grocery stores have food. When I realized that if my mother, who is 70 but generally healthy, falls ill, I can't get to her because that would involve air travel. When we were pulled in by management and told that all non-essential research was stopped. B. COVID-19 research would be started in the next 2 weeks, and C. Asked to fill out a form detailing our full range of expertise for potential redeployment. It was quite a stark wake-up call 2 weeks ago. Edit. Autocorrect still hasn't learned the word COVID. Instead wants me to research Ravens etc and work. When my boss told me that I will be working from home for 8-12 WKS. Edit. Yes. I could have been laid off. The question was when it got real. Not what's the worst things to come from it. Though. This is pretty bad for me. As I have treatment-resistant depression that I manage by staying active and busy. My cousin got sick. Was admitted to the ICU. And tested positive for it. He's been out of the hospital for a few days but hasn't really improved. He just hasn't gotten worse. I texted with him a bit and it's still really serious. He has asthma as well. I guess it was only a matter of time before it affected somebody I know. Edit. Thank you so much for all the well wishes. I will pass them along. To answer the most frequently asked question. My cousin is 34. Edit 2. He's based in Nick. When Walmart stopped being open 24/7. When I was told by the administration that we had one box of N95 masks in the hospital. When I went grocery shopping for the first time in several days last week. And many of the shelves were completely empty. When I lost my job. Today. When the government announced they're going to start putting the dead in a skating rink inside a local shopping mall because the local funeral homes don't have any more capacity. When colleges and K-12 schools closed. That's not a light decision and the people making those calls are very educated. I immediately knew things were about to hit the fan. When I realized that having a bottle of hand sanitizer in my car, in plain view, might not be a good idea. When my colleague died. She was the first COVID-19 death in our state. I had seen her a few weeks ago and she was doing great. And then I received a company-wide email that she had passed. When Ireland closed the pubs shortly before St. Patrick's Day. When I realized I should not be able to go home and see my elderly parents. One of which recently got diagnosed with cancer. Edit. Thank you guys for the heartwarming messages. I don't think I'll be going back to my hometown, but I will for sure be FaceTiming and calling and doing whatever I can. I called my parents sobbing because I was scared I wouldn't get to see them again. Tell your family and your friends that you love them, regardless of their health. Take care everyone. And know we got this and it'll pass over in no time. Much love from Seattle. My girlfriend is a wildlife virologist. When she started constantly reading articles during her free time, maybe mid-February or so, I realized it was the real deal. When cases popped up a few miles from my elderly, immune-compromised father's home, I started being truly scared for him and others. I have worked in investigation security for 8 years and was always told we can never work from home. Reason being we have access to millions of individual sensitive data and they didn't want to risk it being stolen. 2 weeks ago they bought hundreds of laptops and sent us all home to work. Honestly, when the death toll in China surpassed SARS, I'm kind of an anxious person anyway, but infectious diseases have always scared me because there's no real control over who lives and dies. Other than my sister. My immediate family acted like I was crazy and overreacting. When I told my friend that I had been buying a little extra each grocery trip, she thought I was being ridiculous. She's a nurse and recently told me how real it is to her now. When the whole country of Italy was put on lockdown, that should have been a wake-up call for the world to take it deadly serious. My first shift at the hospital after 9 days off and seeing how absolutely unprepared we were to deal with what's coming. For example, 2 nurses were allowed to come back to work after flying home from a cruise in early March. They pulled both of them and sent them into quarantine, but not until they received a call from the cruise line that 2 passengers so far had tested positive. There was at least 2 people on our unit who were like 99% confirmed. They just hadn't been tested because neither met the criteria for testing in this state, having left the country recently or directly knowing someone who had. And now I'm in the middle of another 9-day stretch off, having had what feel like a chest cold for going on 3 or 4 days now. Knowing I need to check in for a virtual health consult and wondering if they'll be footing the bill if I'm told to take 2 weeks off. My grandmother called me and asked if I could mail them toilet paper. My grandfather has S4 pancreatic cancer. They can't find supplies. It got real right at that moment. Driving during rush hour and having the freeway to myself. When my friend in Paris messaged me that France had shut down. It's been real for me since hearing about Italy locking down. Because I've been in shortage situations before, namely Hurricane Katrina. But it got really real when I found out the guy across from me tested positive. And I was on the elevator with him last Monday. So that kinda blows. He's fine. Thankfully. Just in self-quarantine. But now with the pollen coming out and all, every little sniffle and scratch I feel in my throat has me convinced I'm getting the damn thing. When my so who does not panic, stays calm in all situations, came home with a big bag of flour and rice. My dad has it. I just found out today. I'm 1,700 kilometers away and I'm afraid I'm never going to see him again. Edit, you're all so kind. We own a small business. 3 days ago the government ordered us to shut down. We had to let go all of our employees, including 3 senior citizens who depended on their checks for their livelihood. We have some savings but not nearly enough to continue to live and maintain the business afloat. The state is not offering enough help for us. We are really in a tough situation. Our employees are also in the same boat. We have a 30-year-old employee who has nobody. She lives by herself and most likely will get evicted, as her landlord is an asshole. Her situation is desperate. This is so sad and so crazy. All of our hard work is going down the drain in 3 weeks. Edit, thanks for the gold, kind stranger. Just heard that the company that sews MLB uniforms is bringing back their workers to start making surgical gowns. This is starting to sound like the factory conversions to war production during WWII. When I found out both me and my husband are likely to get activated, National Guard, and we will have to send our 4-year-old daughter across the country to stay with family. Update: my husband went to in processing this morning at his unit. He explained the circumstances. His contract ends next month, but they still planned on having him in process. Which, hey, whatever. If they need us, they need us. Our daughter had a fever last week, which they also knew about. She's fine now. But once my husband got there, they decided it was too much of a risk to use him in the off chance it was the coronavirus. It kinda sucks he drove out of state to his unit to immediately get sent home. But it's also a huge weight lifted from our shoulders for now. When the Chinese government was snatching people off the streets who refused to self-isolate while they were sick, that was real enough to me to know this was serious. I work in a boarding school with a lot of international students. It got real around when Madrid announced they were closing the airports. There was a panic packing where we shoved everything the Spanish kids owned into suitcases and put them on the last flight back home. And then it happened again with the Danish kids. Then Kazakhstan, Ukraine, Germany, France. When the school officially got closed on Friday, we had 25 out of our 145 students and 12 of our 55 staff members left in the building. As of today, the UK is in lockdown. So now it's really real. French here. My mother works at the hospital, and until 2 weeks ago, she only thought of it as a big case of flu. I was kinda worrying. I ride the train and the sub each day to go to work, but she was really reassuring. I was worrying because it is my first adult pandemic. I was only 16 when H1N1 happened. Then, Wednesday of the week before, she called me. In her hospital, 3 wings had been closed to leave beds vacant in order to anticipate the sick people. 2 of her colleagues had it, including her direct chef. All of the vacations she had taken for April were deleted and was requisitioned to work. She told me to stop, take the train, work from home, and stay away from people. That if I ever catch it, it could be possible that the hospital wouldn't have enough place, and that they can't have masks. When the president called for the confinement, be sure I respected it with absolutely no condition. I know I will be safe. I have enough food and TP at home. And I have plenty of things to do, work, read, play, dart. But my parents, they have been both heavy smokers for 40+ years. Mom is 60. Dad is 59. And my mom is in the first lines. I am not ready for this. Edit. Thank you all for your kind comments. And thanks for the award. When China built the huge hospital in 1 week, I heard from it the first time when people started dying in China. Paid more attention when people started dying closer to home. Got real when Europe went full lockdown mode. Went to steroids when I lost my job. When my college switched to online and I had to move back home, I was living on campus. When my company actually started making plans to work from home. We had been staunchly against it forever, usually requiring a disability and lots of approvals from the higher ups to have a chance. I remember when they had us start filling out the approval forms just for record keeping purposes, and they said don't complete the last 2 pages. Everything is auto approved so we don't need admin signatures. Wednesday, March the 11th. I'm a teacher, and that was the first day that we had a meeting about the extremely unlikely odds that we would miss school. By Thursday, we knew that we would be out, but we figured that it would be the week after spring break. On Friday, we knew that we weren't coming back for at least 3 weeks. Now, I doubt we go back until next year. Edit. Holy shit. I go to bed, take my son to daycare, and I come home to 9k? Exclamation point. I'm going to go through and comment as I can. Jesus. Thanks everyone. I lost my job. Had to move back home from another country, and I am not able to see my friends or my family. trying to work out a 3-month plan that isn't moving hotel rooms for 90 days and burning my savings. Mild compared to awful experience others have had. But it's a million miles away from where I thought life was going 10 days ago. When my dad told me I won't stop you from leaving the house, but just remember the choices that each of us make are going to affect our entire family from now on. As bored as I am in social isolation, I just can't risk my family's health.
Hi there. Look, if you enjoyed the video, well, why not go ahead and hit that like and subscribe to Reddit Stories. In fact, if you want to see even more responses to this thread, well then, take a look. There's the link in the description below. And remember, show some love to those authors while you're there. And I look forward to seeing you next time.